Is Jesus teaching the Pharisees for us? I'm surprised I even have to answer this question because for the last 2,000 years, the Christian church has always taught that all of Jesus' teachings, regardless to whom he's talking to, belongs to us, the believers. Yet today there is a false teaching. Sometimes it borders on heresy that comes up with an excuse why they don't have to follow the teachings of Christ. And the excuse is, only the teachings that Jesus gives to his disciples are for us, but when he's talking to Pharisees, those teachings are not applicable to us. That is a lie. Now, where do they come up with this idea? Generally, they come up with this theory because they did not want to accept tithing. You see, in Matthew 23:23, Jesus affirmed the need to tithe. So in order to overcome this argument, they come up with this idea that since Jesus was actually talking to Pharisees about tithing, that's teachings under the law, not under grace, and therefore we don't have to apply it. Well, now, stop for a moment. Let's use this logic, okay? In Matthew 19, Jesus is in a discussion with the Pharisees about divorce and remarriage and about the law of Moses. And they're asking him a question, is it right for us to divorce our wives for any and every reason? Well, you know the teaching. Jesus basically said you can't divorce your wife except for marital unfaithfulness. And if you marry another, you commit adultery. So we all know that teaching, right? But that whole teaching was a discussion of Jesus with the Pharisees. But at the end of the discussion, in verse 10, the disciples said to Jesus, if this is a situation between a husband and wife, it is better not to marry. Here's my point. The disciples applied this discussion with the Pharisees to themselves. See, according to these people who are making this argument, that if he talks to Pharisees, they're not for us, the disciples would have answered, well, I'm sure glad one day we're not going to be under the law of Moses and that we can go ahead and divorce our wives for any reason that we want. I'm so glad we're going to be living under grace that we don't have to live by your teaching, Jesus. I can't wait for that new covenant to be established so that we don't have to follow you anymore. But do you realize how ridiculous that is? To this day, I have not heard one person be able to provide an argument. I have always asked them, well, the teaching on divorce and remarriage was given to Pharisees. Why do you apply that? Well, it's a different context. No, it's not a different context. He's talking to Pharisees, yet the apostles applied it to himself. Friend, it doesn't matter who Jesus is talking to, whether he's talking to a Pharisee, to a leper, to a woman caught in adultery. His words to them are his words to us.